$2.4 million last year.
I started reselling stuff actually way back in like 2014. I can't believe people are reselling like brooms and soap and all different types of stuff like that, basically. What I like to do is when I'm going through someone's storefront, I just open up the different
How do you plan what products to sell?
see that Cupid chart to see the movement of the price over time.
How does it feel when you make $2.4 million on Amazon? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, BQool invited Miles, who's been selling on Amazon for many years with a revenue of over $2.4 million last year. He has grown tremendously from a six-figure to a seven-figure seller. He's an expert in sourcing using online arbitrage, and he's also a co-owner of SellerAmp. Let's welcome Miles, a 24-year-old, seven-figure Amazon seller, to our show today. Welcome, Miles.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me, and we proud BQool user as well. Get that in the intro too.
All right, proud BQool user. Awesome. So, Miles, can you give a quick introduction of who you are? Anything I missed for people who don't know you yet?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm 24 years old. I'm from Pennsylvania in the States. I started reselling stuff actually way back in like 2014 and even a little bit before then on eBay, Legos, stuff like that. Got started selling shoes. Didn't really find success with that. It was like really a side thing until like 2018. I started making a few $1,000s a month going around to Nike outlets, selling on platforms like StockX and Facebook groups and on Instagram. And that was right around the time when the YouTube algorithm started to get good. It started to realize what I wanted to see. And it started feeding me Amazon FBA content, basically. And so that's when I really started to follow a bunch of the people in the Amazon community, basically start to learn what it was about. I remember being so mind blown, man, about 5 years ago or so. It was seeing like I legitimately remember driving by myself thinking, I can't believe people are reselling like brooms and soap and all different types of stuff like that, basically. And then I started actually in 2019 was when I gave Amazon a shot. The big problem with that, however, was that ungating was really difficult back then. Luckily, it's really easy right now. So I pretty much just sold used books in 2019, early 2020, was really focused on that. Wasn't really making much money though. And then we all know what happened in 2020. Kind of had to shut down the Amazon thing, unfortunately. However, the key was that I was still documenting my reselling stuff on Twitter and Instagram at the time. So I was still following and talking to a lot of people who were successfully doing Amazon, mainly like the book side of things. And then a lot of those same people started doing retail arbitrage and started doing online arbitrage in mid and late 2020. And that was right when Amazon made ungating pretty easy, basically, which luckily it's still easy today. And I ended up getting ungated in some of the big brands in February of 2021 once I saw my buddies doing it, basically. And then that week started talking, like flipping some Adidas sneakers there and ended up getting going pretty quick. And in March of that year, did around 30 grand of revenue, about 6K profit. That was when I knew I could do it full time and just built it up from there and did around 100 grand in revenue in August of 2021, and then about $1 million for that year. So it really changed my life back in 2021. BQool played a big role in that, helping get my inventory priced the right way and everything. And now just do my thing on Instagram, talking about online arbitrage, SellerAmp, all those types of stuff we know and love, basically.
That's amazing, Miles. I was reading, it's really nice to tie your different habits together. So for example, like when you go and you find a good deal and then you post about it, and then like it gets you this immediate enjoyment. Like, so for me, like I like to play basketball. And then so when I finish playing basketball, I post about it and I love it. Yeah. And then people can, it's like a dopamine, and then you can see the likes, immediate gratification. So I love that. So tell me, how does it feel when you make $2.4 million on Amazon?
Yeah, well, it's a lot of hard work, obviously, but it's a lot of fun too. I think the best part is that you get to do it with whoever you want, basically, right? So like I legit, like I kind of feel like a kid saying this, but I just get to do it with my friends, basically, right? Not only do we get the freedom of not having jobs, get a lot of free time and stuff, but you also get to basically choose your coworkers too, right? You can choose who you get to talk to on a daily basis with the stuff outside of the occasional Amazon seller support mishap and such. But it's a lot of fun. Like obviously you got to be on your stuff, you got to do what you need to be deploying capital, finding deals, etc. But once you've done it for 6 months, once you've done it for a year, once you have a good crew of people to do it with, it can be a lot of fun, Basin. You can start offloading some of those tasks you don't like as much, prep, stuff like that, get virtual assistants involved, repricing, etc. So it's a lot of fun, honestly. We're really lucky to be able to do it.
So you're able to choose your coworkers and the people you work with. How do you scale from six figures, like you mentioned, like you did $1 million and then you scaled it over a million to seven figures?
Yeah, so like the first 100 grand in sales is by far the hardest because you got to learn everything, right? You got to learn how to create a shipment, how to use Amazon Seller Central, using SellerAmp, using BQool, some of these different softwares. You got to learn how to find product, which is obviously the hardest part and the most profitable part. Basically, going from 6 to 7, it's really just like kind of repeating successful actions, basically. The nice thing is you got to learn a whole lot less to do that, right? All you got to learn to go from 6 to 7 is to find more profitable products, basically, which is luckily the most profitable and fun part of it too, right? So that gets a lot easier as you go because opportunity builds off itself, right? Like storefront stocking, the way websites have different sales going on, it all builds off itself. And then, once you've been doing it for a while, you start to see trends, right? And opportunities that come and go. And each time you take more advantage of that opportunity. Instead of buying 10 units the next time, when it comes back 4 weeks later, 8 weeks later, you buy 20 units, right? And eventually you're buying 100 on some websites. And that magnifies the value of your time like crazy, right? Because it's just as much effort to type in 100 on a purchase order as it is to type in 10, but you need the confidence and the capital to be able to do that. So once you get it, it makes it pretty easy to make a lot, basically.
I'm curious. You mentioned earlier that you network with a lot of other sellers. You do a lot of social media as well. What are the benefits for your business?
Yeah, it's unbelievably helpful, I would say, because like doing online business in general, it's really like lonely, especially when you're new, right? Because you're telling the people in your real life, like, oh, I'm trying this Amazon thing, basically, and they're like, oh, like it's a scam, that doesn't work. I don't know anyone who does that, right? But getting that positive feedback loop of seeing other people online that are doing it is huge, right? And even better, when you can work with and build with people online, it's great because you can choose exactly who you do it with, right? And it just is an unbelievably important thing, in my opinion, right? Went to the Miami Sellers Conference, was lucky enough to speak there a few months ago. And like every speaker that goes up there is like, oh, the community was so helpful for me. I have these few people I talk with a lot that I build with. And the big difference between the people that were speaking and the people that were attending the conference was a lot of those people that were attending the conference were not active in the community yet. They weren't out there on social media yet, right? And then the people who were speaking, we were all friends with each other. We all are friends with each other, right? And that gives us a huge advantage and a leg up because someone's going to get an opportunity. And if you think of what's going to get you more opportunity, whether it's being out there, knowing a bunch of sellers or not, it's very clearly you're going to benefit a lot from being connected to other people, being out there on social. And the nice thing is like it's completely free to just post a picture of a box here, leave a funny comment on someone's thing here, someone posts a helpful tip, thank them, hey, have you checked out this? Right? And I was doing that all the way since day one, basically in 2019 on Instagram. You can go look back at it, anyone who's watching. You can see that whole process, basically. And, it's a lot of fun, basically.
I want to just play the devil's advocate here for a moment here. So let's say you network with all these other large sellers, and let's say they even know what your Amazon store is.
Yeah.
It's not very hard to reverse engineer and look at all the products you sell, and you could be creating a bunch of new potential competitors.
Sure. I mean that's completely true, but you think about what if you don't talk to any other sellers? Then you have no chance of getting any further opportunity, right? Then the only opportunity you're going to get is purely what you find, not what you and your friends find together, right? That you can multiply off each other basically. So like that's absolutely possible and everything, but I think if you gradually talk through more and more stuff with people, basically you build trust, it's going to be no problem. Basically, like all my friends know what I'm selling basically, and like the nice thing is we sell a lot of the same stuff, so you can just build together basically. But you're absolutely right. But if you think about what gets you further to your goals versus what doesn't, I'd say definitely talking to as many sellers as possible gets you a lot further than not in terms of just overall aggregation of knowledge and skill and just making progress overall learning stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree because I'm in this AI group, and then so we discuss about AI trends, and then we know, what are some of the later trends that comes out.
Yeah.
You know some of the trends, you know what's going to happen down the road. Now, I want to ask you, can you describe a day in your life as an Amazon seller?
Yeah, so step one, go to the beach. Step two, take out the laptop, click around a little bit, film a video for Instagram, put the laptop down, don't do any work, passive income. No, Kidding, obviously. Yeah, so I actually like I still do some prep myself just because there's some low profit per unit stuff. So it's like, yeah, I do a lot of consulting and stuff like that basically. So it's typically like 1 or 2 calls a day for that. I like to make a lot of content basically and then spend a little bit of time sourcing typically late at night. So it's like probably about, 6 hours a day of like actively doing stuff and everything. So it's like wake up. Typically the first couple hours of the day will be like deep work and stuff like where it's like only focused, only stuff I can do, content creation. And then typically I'll between like 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. I'll have like some calls, whether that's like podcasts or consulting calls or just calls with other sellers, stuff like that. I typically take the afternoons off, basically just kind of mess around, little creative work, stuff like that. And then I like to work at night in terms of like group coaching calls and then live streams and stuff like that too, basically. So like, it's like kind of a lot of work and then kind of at the same time, like no work at all, like depending on the day and like kind of what the activity is that needs to get done pretty much.
So I guess if you enjoy what you're doing, you're not really working a day in your life. And one of the things I've heard, like if you guys are watching this, is that the human age, with all the health advancements, is very likely we're going to live to 140 years old. This might sound controversial, but
It does,
so
bro. I've
yeah,
never seen
right.
that, but hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. So as we live longer, you probably will have to work longer,
Yeah.
and so, this financial independent retire early, this may not exist as easily anymore because you have to retire a lot longer. So that's why you got to start doing Amazon business so you can start selling so you can continue to have, streams of income, multiple streams of income. Now,
Yes.
I want to ask you, so it sounds like you wear different hats like in your work. You said in the morning you're like doing social media, so that's kind of like marketing. And then later on at evening, you do like purchasing as well. And then you have to do administration, all this other stuff. How is it different than when you first started?
Yeah, so when I was starting, I was pretty much just doing reselling stuff and like just documenting online. But the thing was, I was a lot worse at sourcing. I was a lot worse at product research. I was slower with stuff, so I had to work a lot more with that. Right. So I think maybe the hours worked have increased a little bit, but it's like there's so much more leverage involved that I'm so much better now at all these different activities that I have to do that I got a lot more done basically in the same amount of time, pretty much with that. So like it's still a lot of hard work, but it's just like more profitable per ounce of effort, basically because stuff's compounded, relationships are compounded, capital's compounded, etc. And that's so hard to see when you're brand new, but it's the only thing that gets you where you want to be is to get in and really dive deep into that learning process that starts compounding your network, your capital, your knowledge to be a really important thing, basically.
So talking about like sourcing products, how do you plan what products to sell?
Yeah, so I actually kind of made the mistake a little bit last year of a little speculation around seasonal stuff, like buying something, hoping it'll be good in the future off past trends, stuff like that. Now, I didn't necessarily lose money, but I didn't make as much as I could have, right? So I just got to stick to my guns and do a lot of quick flips. Right now, like, sure, I have my mind on back to school, football season, soccer season, stuff like that for the next couple months. But right now, it's like stuff that's profitable right now, quick flips, summer gear, stuff like that that looks good right now, basically.
I want to ask you, you mentioned in some of your other interviews about FBM. When should you do FBM? When should you do FBA?
Yeah, so almost no one shouldn't do FBA or FBM. Like so many more people should do FBM. There's just a lot of limiting beliefs around like if you can get the buy box or not, different stuff like that, basically. But the nice thing is you can really easily check if people are getting the buy box FBM, and it solves it a lot. But especially on finite opportunities that you can sell a lot of potentially in a small amount of time that you need to replenish quickly. So like back to school, for example, right? Like Q4, for example, Easter candy, right? Halloween costumes, like more finite opportunities that are limited by like a certain time of like certain dates per year, basically, that you can squeeze as much as possible into that, but the demand's limited based on the time of that holiday or that event happening, stuff like that, basically. So typically it's going to be like Q4 back to school, stuff like that, but there's a lot of stuff. A lot of people watch this. Go see if there's people FBMing on your listings. Go try it out, because that's going to reduce a ton of price tanking for you because you're going to beat a market quick right there, and stuff's going to be so much more replenishable. And that if you can FBA something and it's probably going to sell 3 weeks from now from when you send it in, etc., you might be able to FBM that and sell it today, and then do the same thing 5 days later when the next shipment gets in, and then do the same thing a week later when the next shipment gets in, from there. So it's really, really powerful stuff. That's sure. Okay. It's a little bit more work, but like you started this to make money. You might as well maximize it while you can.
So it sounds like if you want higher turnover and also when there's holidays, like for example, Mother's Day is coming up and Father's Day is coming up, you can quickly get items and quickly ship them yourself without having to ship them into the FBA warehouse. That's like some advantage there. What I've heard is also for big, large items, like large, expensive items. What are your thoughts? Like, if I'm selling like a toilet, a Kohler toilet, I'm able to get a big, huge discount on, how Bed and Beth, yeah, they're going bankrupt, right? So there's tons of items you could get on the cheap. It's not only limited to large items or items that have low margins. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. So I sold some pools back in 2021 and I FBM'd all those because it was actually cheaper to FBM rather than FBA. And it still would have been, super profitable to FBA. But yeah, for like really light stuff that's expensive. So like, for example, a product that's under 1 pound, but that's above $50, it's really efficient to ship at FBM because you're not
Okay.
paying those FBA fees, but you are paying individual shipping, right? And I've noticed I haven't really dug too deep into the math. I haven't done a ton of the oversized stuff, but I believe oversized is the same way. I just don't know the specific math in terms of like where it optimizes best.
So if the item is over $50 and it's very light, or if an item is oversized, like I talked to somebody who was selling chimneys like during COVID time, and
That's
then
crazy.
it's sold like hotcakes. I'll tell you why. Because and what he would do, he would actually drive the chimneys he got, and he was able to get them for around 40 $50 and then sell them for about 120. He even delivered some of them himself. And then because during COVID times, right, people were just sitting around and they're just going to their friend's house, and you can't go too many places. So you go to your friend's house, you have a barbecue, and then you're just like sitting around the lawn there. So it's very hot product, like chimneys. This is in the UK. Yeah, this is for the UK market. Back to you a little bit. How often do you change categories and start to sell new listings?
Yeah, so not necessarily change categories outside of the occasional opportunity that'll come up, but new listings all the time, like all the time. Yeah, like I always want to grow the catalog, but at the same time, you want to maximize the current stuff that you sell to. Because with arbitrage, sometimes it'll come up cheaper or the market will go up or whatever. So, as much as possible, basically, right there, like try to add new listings every week. Like, for example, last weekend, I think I brought like 7 new ones or something like that to the preps that I hadn't sold before. And like, there we go. Hopefully, some of those will make money now and then burn out. Some of those will make me money the next couple of years at different times.
Could you share how do you predict if an item will sell well or not?
Yeah, so basically, Seller Amp, which is our product research tool, it gives you data around the sales rank and the estimated sales, as well as you can see the competition and the trend of that, right? So you want to basically combine that data, which is at its core can be fine, right? But at this point, I've been in it so long, I can kind of estimate how hard an item was to find, right? So I know if there's a good chance other sellers are going to be hopping on that, right? So like the short answer is, just profit and velocity via Seller Amp. Right. But there's a lot of kind of intricate expertise around like ease of purchase. How easy was that item to find? How hard was that item to find? Right. And there's, more stuff goes into it, so on and so forth, basically. But like definitely over time, you kind of build out some of the expertise. But the big thing is sales rank, velocity, estimated sales.
What kind of sales rank are you looking for? And how many sales per month of an item are you looking for? Usually, what's the criteria, for example?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm old school, man. I'm a sales rank guy, right? Like honestly, right there. So like, the vast majority of the listings that I sell personally are below like a 20,000, 30,000 sales rank. However, for people watching this, if that sounds really low to you, try to stay under like an 100,000 rank for the most part. However, there's a lot of good stuff that has no sales rank, or the sales rank recently dropped, or the sales rank recently went up. That's still selling. You just got to see overall in the charts what the products look like basically overall. But yeah, for the most part, ideally as low as possible. For me, I'm pretty good at sourcing these days. That tends to be really quick selling stuff, right? Sub 20K, sub 10K, etc. But, the vast majority of people watching this should be under like stay under like 100,000 for the most part.
Okay, so for the sales rank, you want to have under 100,000, and for book selling, people want to be the top 2%. Is it different for, sneakers or apparel or this type of items?
Sure, absolutely. So on the point of book selling, right? So there's way more books on Amazon, right? And the margins are so much better with books because you're paying
Right?
so much less, right? You're buying stuff at the thrift store for 25 cents, at the library sale for $1, and you're aiming to make $3, right? So your ROI is so much higher. You can sit on stuff a while because you only put a quarter into it, right? On that. And then on the flip side, same exact thing, right? So for example, for shoes and clothing, because a lot of these listings have variations, different colors, different sizes, you want to keep that lower, right? But if something's a beauty product or a vitamin product where there's no variations, right? And there's also very low returns on something like that, and that basically no one returns those products, right? So you can go significantly higher in sales rank for those for sure.
Now, Miles, I want to ask you, could you show us how do you do live demo for reverse search or using Seller Amp?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to jump inside my screen and take a look at what that looks like right here. So, okay, so we're here on an Amazon product page basically, and immediately what I'm looking at, right, I just started out on this product, for example, because I know it's a Nike product. Nike is being sold by other resellers, which we can see if we scroll down right here. We can see there's a bunch of different sellers on this right here. Immediately, looking at SellerAmp, I know that I can see the velocity on this product or the BSR, right? It's 16K rank, so it's selling pretty quick right here. So I know that looking at this is an arbitrage product and it's moving pretty quick, right? And it's being sold by a bunch of other sellers. So using the reverse source strategy, we can find more profitable products by heading down here. And we can now actually go ahead and see all the different review counts on the different sellers right here. So we can see if someone's got, 50 plus reviews right here, we can see that we know they're making money basically. So we can click into them and then we can go ahead and actually see within SellerAmp all the different brands they're carrying. So for example, this seller has a lot of Nike products, a lot of Adidas, New Balance, Clark's, Columbia, right? So that does a decent job of going ahead and vetting these different products right here. And we can also see all the different categories they carry, and we can filter into those as we want. Say you like selling a lot of home and kitchen, can go ahead and filter into this seller and see all the different products they carry in the home and kitchen category. And then as I'm scrolling through here, I'm looking for potential products that make sense from a velocity criteria, right? So what I'll do is as I'm going through here, like let's say we click New Balance, for example, right here, what we can do is that anything that hits my velocity criteria, and I make sure it looks good and everything, I just go ahead and open up right here, right? 982, 30K rank, looks great. Right there, we can open up both of those, right? And the nice thing is sellers who have big catalogs like this, they got lots of potential profitable products, right? Now, 16,000 ASINs is a lot. We're just doing an example right here. So what I like to do is when I'm going through someone's storefront, I just open up the different just take a look at the different basically products they're carrying, go in, use Keepa, find the best variations, so on and so forth. And then when I find like one, like for example, this specific one's $75 right here, I just go ahead and one click that within SellerAmp to go ahead and actually locate this product, right? And then we can see all the different options on Google Shopping. For example, we can see the all white ones are here at around $50, right? So we can go ahead and see are the all white ones on here, gray right there, right? So I'm not sure. Oh, those are the same thing right there. And then we go ahead and check what the Amazon pricing is actually like on all these different variations right here, right? So we can see that these are all in like the 60 range right there. So at this $50 buy cost, right, that definitely doesn't work basically, right? So if we can sell it for 60 and pay 50, it's not good, right? The beauty of online arbitrage is the finding coupons, right? Which we can see on this site, there's currently a pretty good coupon at the top right here, as well as there's 15% cash back using Rakuten, right? So it's pretty significant in terms of the potential arbitrage here, right? And then we can see, okay, Night Tide Blue is another color they have, right? $50. We're also getting another 30% off on that, right? So what I can do is go ahead and see if that's on here, which it's looking like it's, if we hit see all options right here, it might be an option. Let's see, electric purple, cobalt, what other colors do they have here? Black with green right there. And then you go ahead and just take a look through all this stuff basically and see, right, does anything make sense from a profitability perspective? And SellerAmp's going to help with that in terms of qualifying the demand and the profit. But basically what I like to do with storefront stocking is just hop into different sellers, take a look at what they're carrying, basically find if there's variations like this one, different sizes, colors, then go ahead and just one click Google with seller amp and reverse engineer that and actually go ahead and try to make it using the storefront search feature and using coupons, finding stuff on clearance and everything. So that was like a really summarized version of how online arbitrage works, and that you can use the seller amp storefront search feature and you can let big sellers let you know what you should be looking to sell because they've already removed the guesswork of finding and vetting quick selling arbitrage products. You just got to be able to locate them at profitable prices.
So if you're watching this, you're looking for a seller with more than 50 reviews. They've been selling for a while, and you're able to look at all the products that they're selling. Miles, I have a question is when we're looking at the sales velocity, seeing how many items has moved, let's say for an item like a shoe, where there's so many variations. Usually, like it just shows, one number for that ASIN, but we don't know, like for the variations, how many of these are getting sold. So I might buy the wrong color. I might buy the wrong size. How do I determine the color or the size that I'm selecting has enough demand? Does that come with it? How do you do it?
Yeah, so that's where it comes down to looking at the keep it charts, right? So what you can do is on Seller Amp, you can scroll down and see that keep it chart to see the movement of the price over time, the movement of the competition over time. And that's where you can also use the keep up variations tab. You can see how often that specific size and color combination is moving. If the competition's gone down a lot, it's going up, it's going down again, it's selling pretty quick, right? And you just kind of build that muscle over time, basically, to overall determine, but it is confusing absolutely with the variations, different color size, etc. The keep it chart rules all because that's for that specific color and size combination.
And earlier you mentioned about getting ungated when you start selling the different brands like Nike, like Adidas, toys. How do you get ungated in 2023?
Yeah, so I just made a video on it. It's pretty easy. Like the nice thing is that with what happened in 2020, basically, they made it really easy to get ungated. And it's like pretty much they say invoice, but a lot of retail receipt emails will just work. So order confirmation emails from big retailers, Adidas.com, Kohl's, Foot Locker, JC Macy's, really anywhere these days will work with enough submissions. And now they might decline you once or twice, but if you persevere and you just keep submitting it, you're going to get approved for basically everything. I haven't heard of really anyone having issues with that sustained over time.
Now let's talk a little bit about setting prices. Is there a minimum ROI that you're looking for when you are sourcing the product?
Yeah, so I don't like to go too much below a 30% ROI, not including cash back. However, obviously you want to be hunting for stuff with as much as possible, but there's a ton of good products that have like a nice solid price action, 32% ROI, 28% ROI, 36% ROI, stuff like that that you can just compound your money and build a nice little arbitrage business with over a couple years.
And how do you set your min and max prices?
Yeah, so I was actually planning on asking you when we do our video about the feature to raise your prices at night, right? Because I've always been a max 999 guy, just keep it simple, keep it moving, mainly focus on the minimums. What I like to do for setting minimums is I'll go ahead and take a look at the buy box statistics on KeepUp, see where the majority of the sales are going, and then optimize a tad below that. So I have some wiggle room to potentially go up and down and help that buy box algorithm get more sales basis. So like typically just barely below where I want to sell it for over time.
I'll answer a little bit more detail in our webinar. Sellers who really believe in the scheduler, I have my comments as well. For example, Romer the Romer, he believes that people would put the product into their shopping carts. And then if you raise your price, they'll just keep it in there. They won't remove it. And you're still that seller. So when you buy, you actually might get a little bump. Like if the price difference is like a couple of dollars, a lot of people, they just don't care. And then they'll just check out. So this is for people who put the product into their shopping cart already. And then you use a scheduler and then you raise the price maybe to your max or to some time, and then usually in the lower traffic hours. My view is depending on how many offers there are. Like if there's maybe less than 15 offers for that listing, I think there's a possibility somebody will follow you. If it's more than 15, it's very competitive, then someone's going to take your buy box from you and take your lunch. Yeah. So everyone has their different views, and it's also depending on the product you're selling, the category. Also, this price, the fluctuation of the price. That's my view.
Got
Yeah.
it.
So I'm curious, Miles. Earlier, you had your own warehouse. and then you switched over to start using a prep center. Why did you decide to work with a prep center instead of running your own warehouse?
Yeah. So what's interesting is I actually had the prep center longer than I've had the warehouse. I got the warehouse just for a couple months to do a lot of FBM in December, which it totally served its purpose for. And then ended up just basically using it and re-signing for a couple extra months pretty much. And then ended up getting rid of it in March right there.
Okay, so you use it for FBM, primarily for FBM purpose.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
just pump FBM during Q4. Yeah.
The reason is I talked to some sellers and they're sizable. And then what they do is they would have several warehouses and then they would purchase items and then they would just hold it there instead of sending it to the Amazon warehouse. And they'll wait when the price has gone up. They check Keepa, the price has gone up. And then they'll ship their product in. And they use this for perfumes. Yeah, specific example.
That's crazy. There's so many ways to win. Yeah. Clearly
Yeah.
working out great for him.
What software you're mentioning about all these cashbacks, about these extensions, and what people could sign up for, like Rakuten. What other special cashback extensions do you recommend people to use?
Yeah. So Rakuten is one of the main ones. Top Cashback. It's good for cashback. Capital One Shopping, I mainly just use for the coupons. Cooper is another good one. Honey is decent as well. You want to have all these because they're all free. You know what I mean? And you're going to learn kind of over time and you're going to learn different ones and such. I mean, there's a bunch. Like there's a couple other ones like Capital One Shopping. Be Frugal is a good one. Like, so those are the main ones. So I'm pretty sure that's all of the ones I'm using. Yeah.
What software do you use when you sell on Amazon?
Yeah. So we got BQool obviously for repricing. I like to keep it nice and simple. Like the main ones, BQool, Selleram, Keepa, and I get VAs that help as well, basically. So like those are the ones that I'm using the most.
What do you think about the BQool repricer compared to other repricers you've used in the past?
Yeah. So what's interesting is I've actually only used one other one in terms of like the early days, basically. So like I've been a BQool customer for about 2 years now. It's always served its purpose, basically. Even like there were times in December where stuff was selling so quick, I was raising my minimum just to see where I could keep feeling stuff, basically. And on one product, I went from like 31 to 40 in the same day,
Oh,
basically, and
wow.
like tripled, yeah, or not tripled, like 2.5x the profit per unit. No, actually tripled, yeah, the profit per unit basically, like throughout the day. And I was legit just in there every hour, bro, like raising the minimum basically and changing the mode around a little bit. Right there. So yeah, it's what I've used the whole time basically, and excited to keep using it in the future.
And which repricing rules do you use?
Yeah, so I'm an AI equalizer guy for the most part. However, I'm super open to learning some of the new conditional ones, such. I really haven't had taken the time to kind of get into, and such stuff that I have a lot of stock in. I'll go ahead and do sales booster on as well.
I think what you mentioned about raising the min price, you'll be able to do it using conditional repricing, and you have access to all of that. You can automatically increase your mins if you get a certain number of sales, also based on like all these other factors.
See, exactly. Yeah, like I'm excited to learn when we do our video because there's absolutely some stuff I should put in. Yeah, I'm sure.
It'll save you time. Yeah. Now,
Def-
I want to ask you, Miles, why do some people fail when they start selling on Amazon, and what stalls them from scaling up like you did?
Yeah, so they don't take the time to actually put in the work to learn and they quit too soon, right? Because like legitimately the only way to fail at something is to stop doing it. Like pretty much everyone that sticks around like for a year or two even since I've been doing it, like they've all had success, every single one, right? Everyone who's done the repeatable actions that everyone who's successful has done, they've put in a bunch of effort on their own. They've done it for long enough to get lucky certain points, right? They've talked to other sellers. They've existed in the community. Like it basically works for everyone over time. Cause like the big important thing to understand is that like it really, really works. And every business model works. There's people making money with everything. It's just you as the individual are the problem, but you're also the solution. It's not that the business model doesn't work. It's that you haven't worked. Yeah. And the nice thing is you have completely the power to do that basically. So like, yeah, it's just overall lack of effort, lack of doing the right actions, right? Not taking the time, not having the focus necessary, the character traits and everything. If you can embody those, good things are going to happen in every single time.
Now, I know you have a course as well, and you also do coaching as well. When should people start investing into a course or getting coaching?
Yeah, so that's the nice thing, man, is it's like either way, like, I didn't have much of that when I started. Like it's going to work regardless if you do a bunch of the right actions, right? It's just, do you want to remove some of the mistakes? get there quick, etc., it might make sense to look into formal options basically with that. But either way, like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like if you want to buy speed, if you want to avoid mistakes, stuff like that. But the beauty of this, man, is like we're putting free content out every day. A lot of people just like that, and that works too. You know what I mean? They just don't get, certain things, that stuff where there's a formal relationship is, and that's totally cool. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if the Amazon community gets stronger, we all get to learn more, we all get to make more, everything like that.
I want to ask you, where can people find you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, so the main places are Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. That's just at Filter Miles, right there. The link's below as well. We have free Discord community. That's just freediscord.filtermiles.com. It's also in my social bios on there. And then if you're interested in trying SellerAmp, it's selleramp.com. Get a completely free trial as well with that.
Last question, Miles. What do you usually do in your free time, if you have any?
Yeah, so dude, honestly, like I'm pretty lucky. I like doing business stuff, man. Like I really like the intricacies, solving problems, stuff like that, and that playing basketball, spending time outside, walking, getting sunlight, different stuff like that. But I try to keep myself pretty busy.
And what hobbies do you have?
Yeah, I mean, not much. Like I just really, really like doing business stuff. But yeah, playing basketball for sure. I like reading business books and like kind of just studying like good businesses. It's just like pretty fun. That's like kind of what I like to do. Lucky that it also makes money and everything. So yeah, playing basketball, watching basketball occasionally, watching YouTube videos, stuff like that, and then just do my thing pretty much.
So your hobby is making money.
I'm lucky, man. Yeah, so far, and that might change in the future, and that's totally cool. But I want to maximize and get that financial freedom while I can here.
Hey, Miles, thank you for your time today. Yeah, it's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Hey, guys, make sure to go follow Miles. Follow him on Instagram. Follow him on Facebook, on Twitter. This is the OG. He knows what he's talking about. He's doing over 2.4 million and growing even more. And also use SellerAmp to be able to quickly source products and quickly get to the level that you want. Thanks, Miles. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.